So good evening. My name is Megan Delaney. I am a math interventionist at Chestnut Ridge and Bunker Hill Middle Schools. I am also a certified yoga instructor. So this workshop today is about mindfulness. So that's something that's really near and dear to my heart, something that I like to read about, like to learn about. So I'm excited to share this information with you today. So if you're new to mindfulness, hopefully you leave here knowing what it is, having some strategies to put in place. If you are not new, hopefully you still leave here with some new information. So we know as a teacher, I see more and more kids coming into my classroom with things like anxiety, depression, ADHD, all sorts of other things going on that they come into school with. So one of the causes for this is stress, right? So the school year is a very, very stressful time. You are, as a parent, running your child from place to place, and as a student, you are you're having exams and tests and activities before school, after school, all that sort of thing. And so our children more and more are feeling the stress. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about stress. So I think we can all agree that stress is bad. It's not something that we would say would be good. But there are a couple different types of stress. There's acute stress, which is our fight or flight stress, which we need to survive. And then there's chronic stress, where the levels of the hormone cortisol is streaming through our body all day long. And it's very dangerous to us to have this type of stress here. And obviously we know when you're stressed out, you're more likely to become sick. You're more vulnerable to catching the flu, catching a cold. And stress can also lead to a host of other health problems, such as heart disease, digestive problems, that sort of thing. And 90% of doctor's visits are health-related complaints. So stress is a serious issue in our society. So we know that it affects our body physically. We know that that's pretty, we all know that it affects the stress that way. But stress doesn't only affect us physically, okay? I like this little picture here. A lot of us, when we're at work, all we're thinking about doing is sleeping, and when we're home, all we're thinking about is work, right? Our brain does not shut off, okay? So stress affects our mind as well as our brain as well. So we want to make sure, we want to call some attention to that, okay? So we want to give our brain some downtime as well. I was reading a quote that said, downtime to the brain is what sleep is to the body. Okay, if we don't give our brain some time to relax, and that doesn't mean, laying on the couch and watching TV and going through a litany of to-do lists and thinking about other things. It means really turning off your mind. There's this thing they call monkey mind, right? So it's kind of like your mind is jumping from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And we need to retrain our brains on how to think. So stress not only affects our body, like we were just talking about, but it also affects our brain, our mind. Now, talking about the brain more specifically, getting a little sciencey here, it has a lot of different effects, but I'm not going to read all of them to you, but it creates a cycle. The ones that I want to point out is the creation of a cycle of fear and anxiety. If you notice you're getting stressed about something, then that might lead you to stressing about something else, and it's like a domino effect. You're stressing about one thing to the next. It also puts you at a greater risk for mental illness. And the other one I want to talk about is where it says it makes you stupid. I feel like I need to clarify that. So stress can make your brain seize up, okay, like the worst times. Think about if you're taking an exam or going on a job interview or maybe public speaking. Your brain, if you've ever been in that situation, might seize up and you can't think about what you're supposed to say or what you're supposed to do next. And this is actually a survival mechanism. So when we are in a fight or flight situation, training and intuition or instinct overtake rational thought, right? So rational thought and reasoning. So it's there for a reason, but we just have to better control that. Okay, so why are we talking about this today? Why are we talking about stress? Well, I'm in the business of teaching and learning, and there's an inverted relationship between the levels of cortisol in your body and your academic performance, or your performance in general, okay? So the more stressed you are, the less likely you are to perform well. So one of the ways to combat stress and to combat, one of the very successful ways is mindfulness. It helps combat stress, anxiety, a host of different things. So we're going to be getting into talking about mindfulness, what it is, what we can do to practice it. I found this quote, and I thought it was really, it really is straight to the point. With mindfulness, there's more to unlearn than there is to learn. Okay, so we are ingrained in our society to jump from one thing to the next, and we are at a very fast-paced society. Okay, so we have to kind of unlearn how we have always done things. And so before we get into talking about mindfulness sort of academically, we're going to practice mindfulness. So before we can teach it to our kids, because that's what we're here about, we want to learn about how we can incorporate it into our lives with our children, with our students. Before we can do that, we have to have our own practice. Okay, so we're going to do a little mindfulness exercise, even if you don't know what it is. We're going to do a body scan, and we're going to listen to somebody and what that means. So we're going to get comfortable in our seat. Both feet are flat on the floor, legs uncrossed. You can have your palms face up on your lap or palms face down, and just getting comfortable in your seat. You're going to really sit up straight, which may feel a little funky, but if you're at home, it should be pretty easy to do. Okay, and you can have your eyes open or closed, but there's not going to be much to look at. I suggest having your eyes closed or at least heavy lids. Okay, so really a soft gaze. And we're just going to listen to someone lead us through a mindfulness body scan.
Begin by bringing your attention into your body. You can close your eyes if that's comfortable to you. You can notice your body seated, wherever you're seated, feeling the weight of your body on the chair, on the floor. You can take a few deep breaths. And as you take a deep breath, bring in more oxygen, enlivening the body. And as you exhale, have a sense of relaxing more deeply. You can notice your feet on the floor. Notice the sensations of your feet touching the floor, the weight and pressure, vibration, heat. You can notice your legs against the chair, pressure, pulsing, heaviness, lightness. Notice your back against the chair. Bring your attention into your stomach area. If your stomach is tense or tight, let it soften. Take a breath. Notice your hands. Are your hands tense or tight? See if you can allow them to soften. Notice your arms. Feel any sensations in your arms. Let your shoulders be soft. Notice your neck and throat. Let them be soft. Relax. Soften your jaw. Let your face and facial muscles be soft. And notice your whole body present. Take one more breath. Be aware of your whole body as best you can. Take a breath. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Okay, so hopefully maybe you feel a little bit more relaxed after going through that. That's one option. That's a body scan, just noticing what's going on with you. So I'm going to be sharing with you a bunch of different mindfulness techniques today. You may not like all of them, but feel free to choose whichever one works best for you. There's also a host of other options out there as well. So mindfulness. I guess the textbook definition we would say is the intent to remain present in a non-judgmental way. So really just being aware of what's going on around you without judging it. So for instance, I like to use the example of snow. So for a lot of people, myself included, when you hear that there's snow coming, especially what happened yesterday or the day before, when you hear that there's snow coming, you maybe get tensed up and you're like already predicting how, you're gonna have to shovel and it's gonna be harder to get to work, and maybe the kids are off of school and you're gonna have to figure out what to do with them. It's like a chain reaction. Okay, so snow itself isn't bad, right? There's nothing, all by itself, snow is not bad. It's sort of what we assign to it. So this is just a little example of, how can we be present in what's happening currently in a non-judgmental way. Okay, I talked a little bit earlier about monkey mind. So our monkey mind is, when our mind, like I said, is jumping from thing to thing to thing. Okay, so we want to see if we can become aware of. So I have to make an announcement. 21st Century Apps presentation is now available. So if you're having trouble getting into that, you can go to the website and access the new link. Okay. So monkey mind. So that's just a cute little phrase that we talk about if your thoughts are jumping from one thing to the next, how we can kind of grab control of that, right? Our brain is this like really powerful, wonderful tool that we can use. And when we do not have mindfulness or awareness or presence, it starts to use us, right? It can possibly spin out of control, and it's, worrying about different things, or maybe worry isn't the issue. Maybe it's, things like anger, that sort of thing. We want to get into control of our mind. We want to use it as a tool rather than letting it use us. Okay, so mindfulness is just moment by moment awareness of your thoughts, your feelings, what's going on in your body, and the environment. And then obviously also accepting what it is as it is without judging it as right or wrong. That doesn't mean you don't have to have an opinion on it, but noticing what it is and seeing if you're assigning judgment to it unnecessarily. Okay. So many of us just automatically respond to stress going on in our life. So this lack of awareness can lead to things like poor emotional self-regulation, a development of unhealthy habits, that sort of thing. So many of us, something stressful happens in our life and we immediately respond. When we have a mindfulness practice, we're able to, something stressful is going to happen. If we have a little bit of mindfulness, we can think about it and then we respond. So it's like breathing a little bit of air into it, taking a little bit of a break before we react or before we respond. Okay. And I found this little diagram that I thought was a super helpful example of what mindfulness is. So mindfulness is the number one thing is awareness. Okay, so if you take one thing out of this workshop today, it's just becoming aware of when you're not being mindful, when you're not being present, when you're not in the moment, when you're thinking about a million different things, or getting upset about something that hasn't maybe happened yet. And the next step, so it's becoming aware, and the next step is then coming into the present moment and seeing what is happening and what is going on, and then accepting it for what it is, or changing it. Right? We have the option to, if we're sitting in in this workshop, for example, and you don't want to be here, you can always get up and leave if you don't want to be part of it. But if you're not enjoying it, so you can either get up and leave, or you can sit there and try to enjoy it. I'm sure there's a litany of other options, but that's one example. So I like this quote about mindfulness. It's good for our bodies and our minds. It changes things like our brain. It fights obesity and PTSD. There's lots of research out there about it now. And to sum it up again nicely, is it's simply being aware of what is happening right now without wishing it were different. Okay, without wishing, I have to get home and feed the dog, or I have to help Susie with her homework, or go to the store for dinner, and being present wherever you are, whatever's going on, without giving an agenda for what's about to come or what did happen in the past. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of mindful breathing that I'm going to lead you through. So again, we can take a nice comfortable seat, sitting up tall, feet flat on the floor. You can have your palms face up or face down in your lap. The reason we sort of do this is having our legs uncrossed and all that is to just allow ourselves to be even more relaxed rather than kind of cutting off energy anywhere. Okay, so again, you can have your eyes closed if you'd like, or having them, just having a heavy gaze. So just start noticing your breath. So what that means is just paying attention as you inhale and as you exhale. We're going to do this for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to start to regulate our breath. So what that means is we're going to start to lengthen our inhale and lengthen our exhale for a certain count. So if at any time this doesn't feel right for you, or you're losing your breath, or you just fall out of sync, just start over. We don't want to get lightheaded or anything. Give it a try. You'll find where your stopping point is. So we're going to inhale for a count of 4. So when you're ready, inhaling, 2, 3, 4. Pause at the top. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause at the bottom. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4. Pause. We're going to inhale now for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhaling now for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. Pause. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pause. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now continuing this on at your own pace. So inhaling for whatever breath count feels good for you. And exhaling. 2 more rounds. Exhale. Last round. Inhaling. And exhaling again. 2, 3, 4. You can slowly blink your eyes open. All right. That's a breathing technique that you can actually use to help treat anxiety. So if you're starting to feel like you're kind of getting panicky, I kind of rushed through that a little bit, so you could slow it down, take your time to breathe up to those counts. You could hold it for longer. Maybe you have really good lung capacity, whatever works for you. But when we slow down our breathing, we also slow down our heart rate. The 2 are linked, so it's a really nice calming exercise. Okay, now we're going to do one more activity. We're going to listen to, it's called a mindfulness bell. So we're going to be listening to a chime. So when you're doing this, you're paying attention to the sound. So like, not a lot of people are into, just breathing. They sort of want an activity to do. So I'm going to play this chime for you, and you're going to just notice it, listen to it as it, completes its tonal quality. Notice if you are thinking about anything else as you're doing this. If any other thoughts come into your mind, just kind of let them go. A lot of teachers will say, think about them as clouds as they pass on by. What your goal is trying to have no thoughts, and that's going to be a constant exercise. You're going to say, oh, I was thinking again. Okay, turn it off. Oops, I was thinking again. You're just going to have to, it's going to be a constant exercise. Okay, so we're going to listen to some chimes for just about a minute. So that's sort of a weird one, but it's a nice one to do that's a little more active. Paying attention. You can actually even do it with really any music that you're listening to. It's probably better without words, but if you're listening to like classical music, really paying attention to one instrument, noticing it. When we focus our attention on something, we are better able to be mindful. Okay, so why do we want to practice mindfulness? Well, in adults, it has some definite benefits. I'll just highlight a few of them here. It's antibody production. You're less likely to get sick, right? The less stressed you are, the less likely you are to get sick. The better able you are to regulate stress. So when you feel stress coming on, when you have a mindfulness practice, you are able to, notice it and cool it out. And social connectedness, meaning we can have compassion for each other and that sort of thing. So being able to connect in a mindful way. Okay, and our kids, which is why we're all here, in our kids, if you have maybe a naughty child at home, there leads to a decrease in aggressive and non-compliant behavior. I like that one a lot as a teacher. It also is a decrease in anxiety and ADHD, which I talked about earlier which is a big issue nowadays. There's also a decrease in test anxiety. Okay, and an improvement in social relationships. So amongst their peers, being better able to self-regulate and communicate is big. Okay. So we're going to practice another mindfulness exercise. This is called a mini mindfulness exercise. It's another great exercise to try. So you can do this anywhere you are. So if you want to, again, come into a comfortable seated position, feet flat on the floor, palms facing up or down. This is something you can do while you're at work or in the car or, when you're having a frustrating conversation with anybody. So this first step is to come out of automatic pilot. Okay, so which sounds like, okay, well, how do I do that? Right. Well, coming out of automatic pilot can just be as easy as noticing that you're in automatic pilot, right? Being aware, noticing what you're doing right now. Okay, so what's going on right now? What thoughts are around? How are you doing right now? Okay, so you can, with your eyes closed, contemplate that. How are you doing right now? Notice your thoughts. Maybe it's not thoughts, maybe it's feelings. Any feelings arising. Noticing any sense of discomfort. I know I'm really cold. Just noticing. Just noticing and saying, you know, ah, there you are. Are you holding any tension anywhere? Your next step is to pay attention to your breath. Have you forgotten to breathe? Just using the anchor of the breath to really be present. And our last step is maybe bringing your awareness, mentally bringing your awareness to the rest of your body, to your environment, to your room, wherever you are. Any tension that you're holding anywhere. What's going on? Blink your eyes open. So that was, again, I mean, it's sort of hard to do in the moment but when you're having time, when you need to have a mindful moment, when you need to take a minute, especially if you're a teacher, that's hard to do. But maybe you're taking a minute as you're in the bathroom, or you get done your class and you just take 1 minute and you have that conversation with yourself. How am I doing right now? Am I breathing? Where am I holding tension? Even just bring, I mean, it doesn't have to come with answers. I think a lot of times one of the misnomers with mindfulness is that you have to, like, there's some point that you have to achieve, but you're not really achieving anything. You've already achieved it once you become aware. Okay, so now we'll do an exercise called 5 senses. Okay, and again, I'm kind of throwing this all at you at once. We would never do all of these at once. But you can see what you might like to do. So this one you can actually do with your eyes open if you'd like. I prefer doing them with my eyes closed just because I can tune in better. And you can sort of do this in a variety of ways. So I'll sit here again with you. You're going to notice 5 things that you can see. Okay, so we're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to start with 5 things that you can see. If you have your eyes closed, just thinking about 5 things you could see in the room. Chalkboard, desk. What are 5 things that you can see? Then thinking about 4 things that you can hear. Now we're kind of in a quiet room, so I know you can at least hear the hum of the laptops. My voice. And then 3 things that you can feel. So the weight of your clothes, the floor beneath your feet, your hair and your neck. 2 things that you can smell. Hopefully you don't smell anything bad. Hopefully you're smelling my mindfulness, my essential oils. And then last is going to be 1 thing that you can taste. Now I have something, a little chocolate here that we can all taste if you like a chocolate. Just noticing the flavor. How does that feel? Okay, so if you still need some convincing about why mindfulness is good for you, here are some successful people that have done mindfulness or that are known for mindfulness. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but Oprah, if you know Oprah, she's into Super Soul Sunday and having, meditation and all those sorts of things. So she's a very successful person that practices it in her daily life. Steve Jobs. He was known for using mindfulness to focus his mind. You got Kobe Bryant down there, Arianna Huffington, Emma Watson, the CEO of LinkedIn, the guy from the Today Show's name I can't remember, Jerry Seinfeld, Ellen, and Goldie Hawn. So Goldie Hawn, I wanted to put her on there because she is known for having a mindfulness program that she is actually implementing or helping implement in schools. I'm not sure which schools, but it's a whole program where they teach the students and the staff, and she's bringing that mindfulness out to those kids. Okay, you may have also seen back in November in Baltimore, they're using meditation instead of detention. I'd love to see, you know, how that's going up to this point, but it was very successful at the time of the article. So something that they're doing to help the kids self-regulate, right? So if they're better at understanding their feelings, understanding their emotions, understanding, you know, being able to take that breath before they react, they are probably more likely to respond better and behave better in school. So how can we incorporate this at home so that something like this doesn't happen? Well, there's a few different strategies, some that I've come across, things that you can talk about with your kid. Mindful or mindless is one little activity. Is there a time when a character is fully in the present moment, that fully appreciates the present moment? What happens? Is there a time when they say something true, helpful, and kind? Talking about, you know, when are characters in books or movies, when are they being mindful? Just noticing it. Again, bringing that awareness into it. The second one is counting sounds, a mindful walking practice. So you can go for a walk and mentally count or list all of the sounds you hear with your kid. You know, no talking. Try to do, you know, review it at the end. No cell phones. Just taking a moment to, and you don't even have to walk. Maybe you have a nice backyard and you can sit in and listen to all the noises that you hear. Another idea for a walk is the rainbow walk. So in order, you would try to go through the colors of the rainbow, and you know, you maybe jot them down in a journal or take pictures of them. So you go find something red, orange, yellow, and so on. Something just noticing the environment that you're in. Then there's the heartbeat exercise, which if you want to have your kids jump up and down or do jumping jacks for a minute, get some of that energy out. And then when they're done, you know, you can have them sit or lay down, close their eyes, and feel their heartbeat. Just noticing it, noticing their breath as well. Okay. There's the squish and relax meditation, which is actually, there's something similar for adults that we're going to do today, but for kids, if you want to have them laying down, they can raise their arms over their head or by their sides, and they just squish everything up, squeezing everything in really tight, you know, so that you're really tensed up, and then exhaling, release. Inhaling, squishing, 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 squeezing all of your palms, fists, maybe pressing all of your limbs into a bed or to the chair, and then exhaling, release. And doing that a few times to just notice how their body relaxes as they let go of the tension. And then there's a list on that sheet that I gave you of mindfulness apps. So there's an app for that, right? There's lots of mindfulness apps. I'm not gonna lie, I don't use any of them because I'm not really that savvy. But there are quite a number of different apps that maybe your teenager could show them to you, or your adolescent could show them to you and teach you how to use them. Just something interesting and fun to play around with. Okay, so some tips for bringing mindfulness to your kids. Number one is modeling mindfulness. You know, we cannot teach our kids something that we don't really practice, although of course, you know, we're all guilty of that, I'm sure. But if we have our own mindfulness practice, it makes it that much easier for them to do it. What's in it for them? You know, maybe show them that the studies that students who meditate before an exam perform better than those that don't. And again, it doesn't have to meditate, sort of gives people the heebie-jeebies sometimes, but really it's about being mindful, clearing your mind, and having that practice. And you can tell them that it reduces anxiety and stress and improves concentration as well. You could also teach them about their brain, especially if your child's interested in that sort of thing. There's lots of research out there about what stress does to the brain and what mindfulness can do to help it. And maybe one activity you can do is take on a family mindfulness challenge. So if you're struggling to get mindfulness into your life, you can get your kids involved and do it together with them. Something, you know, let's at the dinner table, let's talk about what we did today that was not very mindful, or what was very mindful. What did we have that went well? One option too was choosing a mindfulness corner, although I don't, you know, maybe just having a space in your house. It's like quiet time space. That may just be, I don't really know how it would work when it says, you know, a corner, but whatever works for you. If you have a space in your house where it can be sort of like where you can lay down and a nice quiet spot, that'd be awesome. And then setting a time, really trying to set a time to do it every day. Okay, I remember I was trying to before I left for work every day, doing 3 minutes of just being mindful, sitting there and clearing my mind. I have not been as good about it, but I have to get back into it. I've been trying to incorporate it into my day a little bit more. And if you practice every day, it gets easier. And really, if you fall off the wagon, it does get harder to get back on. But trying to do it every day, even if it's just noticing it. Remember, the number one and the biggest step is becoming aware that you are or you are not mindful. All right, so we're going to finish off with, I'll give you time for questions at the end, but we're going to finish off with a little bit of chair yoga. Okay, so we're going to get comfortable in our seats again. This is going to be a little, we don't have our eyes closed right now. We're going to do, like I said, I'm a yoga teacher, so we're going to do a little bit of chair yoga. So we're going to start with neck rolls, rolling your neck from side to side. Okay, you can do it like a semicircle, you know, rolling your left ear to your left shoulder and then rolling it over right ear to right shoulder. If you prefer to go all the way around, you can, if that feels okay for your neck. And if for me right now, it does not. Do one more to each side. And then when you're ready, you're going to inhale. You're going to place your hands on your tops of your thighs. Inhale, arching your spine, looking up. And then exhale, rounding your spine, cat-cow. Inhaling, arching your spine, looking up. And exhaling, rounding your spine. Two more. Inhale. And exhale. Last time. Inhaling, arching the spine, looking up to the ceiling. And exhale, rounding through. And then we're going to inhale, our arms rise. And exhale, full touch our toes. Inhaling, arms rise. And exhale, touch your toes. Two more. Inhale. And exhale, touching your toes. Inhale. And exhale, touch your toes. I'm going to inhale, coming back up. We're going to cross our left arm across our right thigh, taking a little twist in the chair. Glancing over your right shoulder. And then inhaling back to center, right arm across left thigh, taking a little twist. Glancing over your left shoulder. Inhaling, coming back through to center. We're going to twist our arms. So right arm goes underneath left arm. It's called eagle arms. Okay, stressing out the back of the shoulder blades. Exhale, release. And then switching sides. So left arm underneath right. And exhale, release. And we'll do a heart extension, placing our hands behind us in the chair, stretching our heart forward, taking a little mini back bend. Exhale, release. And we'll do our squish and relax mindfulness activity. So again, feet flat on the floor, palms can be in your lap. Taking a deep breath in, long breath out. Deep breath in, long breath out through the mouth. You're going to squish up your left toes in your shoe. I know that's kind of weird, it might be hard to do, but squishing up, maybe pressing your foot into the ground. Squish, 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 squish. And exhale, release. Now doing the other foot, right foot, squishing the toes in your shoe, pressing your foot into the ground. Squish, 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 squish. And exhale, release. And squishing up your thighs and your glutes and pressing everything down into the floor, into the chair. Squish, 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 squish. And exhale, release. Making fists with your hands and squishing your arms into your sides and squeezing your fists. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Really pressing your arms into your side and exhale, release. Squishing your hands again, making fists, squishing just your fists, and then exhale, releasing finger by finger. Squishing up your face, making a face like you ate something sour. Squish that face up. Yuck. And exhale, release. And then inhale through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And that's it. So if you have any questions, I am here. And all this information is up on the website.